Hello everyone, welcome back to Maverick Mods. This week, back on the Grand Old Manor, part 2 of DIY HVAC install. So grab your popcorn, let's get started. In part 1 of DIY HVAC install, I got an HVAC. It's a 4-ton heat pump, and last week I got the air handler installed, got the ductwork tied in. I should say the existing ductwork tied in, and I've got the air compressor / condenser mounted on the exterior of the house. So that's kind of where I left off, because part 2 actually is a little bit more involved and a little bit more, I don't know if you call it intricate or not, but it's approaching beyond my comfort zone as far as never having done this before. So first thing I've got to do today is route and hook up the refrigerant lines. After that, I've got to do electrical and thermostat. So let's take a look at where I'm at on the refrigerant lines. So my air handler, or I should say my evaporator, my air handler, is pre-charged with Freon. My line set, which is a 35-foot line set, is pre-charged with Freon. I've got to take that line set and run from these connections outside to basically right about through there. Let's go outside and take a look real quick. So my refrigerant lines, the suction and the liquid and the suction line hook up here, and this is the other side of that rock wall. Now this basement wall is here, there, pretty much, it's essentially 18 inches of where I need to go through solid rock. The more I looked at it, and as hard as it was just to put the concrete anchors in for the bracket, just to get through that rock, trying to bore a great big hole through this wall is essentially a non-starter. Same thing with trying to go up and over through the footer. Again, that footer, I measured it finally, it's 10 inches thick, and it's original to the house, and it probably right now is about as hard as concrete too. Option 1, option 2 for the refrigerant lines didn't work out. On the side of the house here though, I do have a natural opening right through the basement wall, or the rock wall, which is my little window here. Now I've removed the outer screen, and I've got the window, the inside window, propped up, but there's a couple of issues here. So let's take a look at that. Let's go back inside and take a look at that. So here's the inside of my basement wall with my window. I've got my window propped open. It did take a little bit of work to get this thing open, but it eventually did open. So from the inside, like I said, I've got my screen removed. I didn't count on these bars as to try and run my refrigerant lines through this opening. Still can make it work. I'll just have to kind of work my way around the bars. So with the window open, with the screen removed, I tried to remove the bars. Good news, bad news routine on that. Good news is they are removable. Up here in the corner, they've got these little sleeves that slide back and forth and expose the ends there. And once you get the sleeves slid back, you can just take this whole bar set, slide it out of its slots, and pull it out. Bad news is this sleeve is rusted solid. Cannot get that thing to budge. I got the top one to budge, but not that one. So taking the bars out at right now is kind of not an option. So that's part 1 of good news, bad news. Part 2 of good news, bad news is most of the frame around this, although, well, it's rotten. There's just no two ways about it, especially down here. It's loose, it's rotten, and it needs to be completely redone. That wood is soft. This is really soft. It's cracked over there. So this entire window frame, which I knew is going to have to be, I'm going to have to replace all that. I'm going to have to rebuild all that. So that kind of makes it, that's actually kind of good news, because I don't feel too bad about tearing stuff up to get my refrigerant lines through here. I want to keep this frame for now, just because I don't want to just completely rip everything out yet. I don't have enough room under the bar to get my refrigerant lines through, but I can just snake them right through here on the side. But in order to do that, I don't have enough of a frame here to put a big enough hole through, so this window has to come out. So let's go ahead and remove this window, and I'll just essentially replace this with a temporary sheet of plywood. And same thing with my screen. I'll just replace that whole thing with a temporary sheet of plywood once I get my refrigerant lines through here. Let's take this window out first. So this is one of those ones where it does not have a removable frame like I did on the front doors a couple of weeks ago. This one just has window putty all around the edges, and this putty is old and cracked. Most of it's all basically already coming out. I should be able to just very gently and easily, hopefully, chisel the rest of this putty out. And it's not a huge loss if I break the window, but you know, I'm kind of hoping I don't break it, just because. Said I doubt I'll reuse the window. See, all of that just came right out. And a lot of times to get this putty out, you can use a chisel. There's one side. Yeah, see, this stuff is just so old. It's just flaking right off and just, you know, coming out in big chunks like that. Let's see if I can get my corners. My sides. Corner there. Got one last little corner here. And this window might, or this pane might just pop out. And since I don't have three hands, knowing my luck, it'll pop out, fall on me, and break anyway. All right, so I got all that putty out. All right, let me work on up in here. And get all of this all over me. In theory, nope. All right. Pardon my mess. Okay, so all that putty's out. I should, in theory, be able to just kind of work this and pop this loose. Let's go ahead and lower this down. I should be able to just kind of work this window pane loose. I think this may be plastic, because I don't think glass bends like this. So if you hear something shatter, then we'll know. Guys, I think this is plastic. I think it's like acrylic. Of course, acrylic can break and shatter too. Well, it won't shatter, but it can break. Now, this is definitely not glass, because if it was, it would already be broken. And it was glued in as well over here. I think that window frame probably swelled a little bit too. All right. Okay. So we have an opening that I can get my lines through. All right, we've gone back outside for a few minutes. I've got to feed my lines through the window there. And instructions say, I think the instructions say you're supposed to unroll the lines. So we're going to do that. I'm not going to unroll all of it and straighten all of it out, but enough that I can get through there and then come back outside and start working my way that way. All right, so let's start off with that. Let's see if I can do this. It rained last night, so everything's wet, of course. They also say you're not supposed to bend these too much. I mean, they're kind of spirally lines there, but you don't want to bend them too much because then you can introduce a leak. So we're just going to be careful getting these through here. As careful as I can be anyway. That way, just get it. There we go. Just had to get it past that point right there. Should go a little bit easier now, hopefully. Okay, that should give me more than enough to get everything set down at the air handler. I did a little quick measurement from here down the wall. The instructions say I should also put a, I guess, oil trap, so like a little bit of a loop, which I'm going to run it down. I don't see any reason why I can't run it diagonal. Run it down the wall, put a loop down at the bottom, and then come in and connect here. See if I can figure out how to do this without looking stupid. I think I crossed that bridge a long time ago. So I'll go ahead and just close that for now. These are a little bit tough to move. They're bend, I should say. Yeah, if there's something in the instructions that tell me what the minimum bend radius is, I'd have to look it back up to see, but I'm going to stay well within sight of that. So I think what I can do from here, and pull these caps off. Okay, there's the cap for the liquid line, cap for the suction line. And let me prepare my adapters. All right, so I'll go ahead and spin these on by hand for now. They need to be torqued down. There is a torque in the manual there. It's standard in Newton meters. I don't have a torque wrench that measures Newton meters. So I'm gonna have to get on the interwebs, do a little conversion, figure that out. Let me go do that, grab my torque wrench, and we'll be back. There's 28, roundabout. I'm just gonna use my crescent wrench to hold the fitting so I don't, torque the fitting in the unit or whatever. Got my line snug down. I'm just going to tidy these up just a little bit, just to kind of get them a little bit closer there. I still have a little bit of work left to do down here with the drain, but this at least gets the that'll work. Okay, so that gets me going there. I've got a little bit of extra insulation to put on these pipes kind of when I finish tidying everything up, just to protect them. But for now, until I actually do finish tidying everything up, we're good inside. Let's go outside. We'll do the same thing with the lines on the outside. I'm going to continue on, kind of same drill. Straighten the line out as I go. Now, they make a cover for these lines that I'll put on to cover them when it comes to tidy everything up. Getting it to go around that corner was a bugger, but I think we're there. The Iggy on this one is just want to make sure you don't cross thread anything, which I was in danger of just a second ago. Should be good. Now let's see if I can kind of roll these lines back in a little bit. My refrigerant lines are hooked up. Before I turn basically connect everything, because my compressor is pre-charged, but it's isolated. My evaporator is pre-charged, but it's isolated. And I take these caps off, take an Allen, go in, open everything up, and it balances the system. But before I do that, I need to get some soapy water, and I'll do each one of them one at a time, make sure there's no leaks. Okay, so I'm going to do these one at a time. We'll start with the bottom, or start with the liquid line here. What we do is we just loosen up, take this cap off, and there's an Allen inside of there. Now, I don't know if it's metric, that's not it, or standard, and what size it is. So we're just going to guess the Allen. That works. All right, so let me grab my soap and water. So we're going to spray here and here. There we go. All right. So we're going to open this line. And I can hear the Freon go through the system. And you just take it all the way out, put your cap back on. Oop. Let's try it again. Put the cap back on. And kind of hit everything with soapy water. And we're looking for bubbles. Don't see any. Same thing. Let's pre-soak everything. Spin our cap back on. Nothing. Don't see any bubbles. So I think we're 50% of the way there. Let's go out and do the outside. You can hear it equalizing the pressure, which is good. I don't hear any hissing, and that's good too. Let's hit them with the soap. All right, I'm going to call that a success. Test. We're back outside again, and it's time to mount the disconnect box. Now, I'm just going to kind of do a rough estimate here based on, so my whip is going to go here. I'm going to run it behind there. I'm going to run it to where it'll be a little bit tighter than this, but it's going to come up to the box. Looks like, I think I could probably go right about there, and that would be a pretty good place to put it right here. Right about here. So let's take our box. That's going to be a side entrance there. So the box looks like about right here. Okay, that's going to be a pretty good place. Now mark a hole. Let's do a little drilling with the hammer drill. I'm just using 3/16 tap cons on this. Okay. Let's get our whip prepared and get our box prepared for all our connections. Okay, so remember before when I said, this is probably episode 1, the whip that they gave me came with number 10 AWG wires for the L1 and L2. For a 50 amp circuit, these should be a number 8. You can do number 6, but my wire run is short enough. Number 8 is perfectly acceptable, but number 10 is a little bit too small. Ground wire is okay for number 10 wire, but not for your current wires. So I went to the store. I've got to have it for the rest of the run anyway, so I went ahead and picked up some wire. Let's go ahead and unpackage this replace the red and black wires in the whip with the new wire. And there's the other. Okay, now let's take, you notice I didn't cut this end, and that's because I want to make sure my wire ends are both not too long and not too short. So let's take the end of our whip here and let's go up and start hooking things up. Well, there was cussing involved, but I've got my wires connected. I've got my whip attached, tightened up. That's where the cussing was involved because I can't see what's behind there. Just trying to get that locking ring locked or tightened down. But I've got my whip connected now. My whip's going to actually fold down a little bit below there, but it's going to come to right here. I can probably stand to have a little bit of extra wire. I can just bend it out of the way. So let's cut them to about right here. And there we go. Okay. Probably can go ahead and hard mount my box, I'm thinking. I can actually sit down to do this. I'm shocked. Just remember to take the ring off, line it up, go ahead and secure my whip. So I need to take, it doesn't matter which one is which. One of them is L1, one of them is L2, and my connectors are just connecting the two of them. So that's why they're separated. So I'm not doing black and red, I'm doing black and over here red. So I've got my whip connected. Now I need to hook up the line to the main breaker, which is going to kind of be the same deal, except now I'm going to run my conduit along the side of the house and go in through a junction box to the breaker panel. Let's start. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to run some wires through here. So essentially now what I need to do is just connect the dots. Wires from there up to here through a piece of conduit. So there it is. Now I do have to put a couple of straps here to hold my conduit up, not a problem. But here's the connections. Oh, so I've got line in L2 or L1, whichever one that is, however you decide. I think it's to be L1 probably, it's black. This is out. Sorry about that. This is in, that's out. Same thing. In for L2, out for L2, and your disconnect here is what actually bridges that. Now the interesting thing is, I don't know if you can see, there's actually like a dead slot. There's the connectors there. There's a dead slot above, and your disconnect is offset. So when it goes in like this, you get power. So if you need to work them, you can flip it up and it's just a place to hold it so you don't lose the connector there. So there, let's see if I can get this panel on. So I can figure out how to put this inner panel on. There we go. Okay, and my top panel. There we go, and I'll come up with something to shut that off. Otherwise, outside, well, we're not quite finished wired yet. I've got to put a cover on there and put some clamps on the cable itself. And I'm not gonna put the cover back on yet because I still need to run my control wire to my control board, and that's basically 2 wires, S1, S2, and that's just to turn the compressors on and off. I'm gonna wire up the air handler. What I've got here, I've got a 220 volt 15 amp circuit that's going to be separate from the compressor unit outside. Basically, it's pretty simple. You check the wiring chart, and all I need is 14.3. Hang on. I got a ton of 14.3 left over. Romex here. The only difference on this one is, of course, this is black for common, white for neutral, and plus the ground. However, I can use that on 220. All I have to do is tape the exposed white end, just put red tape on it to show that it's L1, L2 for 220. So I'm going to come through, hit my knockout here, run my wiring up through. I'm going to bring it up, over, and around. Let's take a look at where I'm going to run it. So I'll start here, go through my knockout. I'm going to come up this. Well, it looks like I need to take that out, but I'm going to come up this way. I'm going to run along this floor joist to here, come up over here, bring it across. I'm going to have to put, I don't want to gang it there. Actually, I got enough room there. Let's see, I got enough room there. I do have enough room. I didn't want to have to drill another hole unless I had to, and I don't have to drill another hole. Cool. All right, let me run this wire, and then we'll start looking at hooking everything up. I gotta figure out, why is there a piece of drywall up here, I wonder. All right, well, in the pile. I'm afraid to know what's on top of this. Oh yeah, you don't want to know what's on top of this. All right, whoa. Well, whatever it was, it's now all over the floor. Up over here, up over here, up over here, across. What am I hitting? Oh, just a nail. All right. And down to here. Make sure I leave myself a little extra. Is that going to stay? Yeah, that'll stay. Okay. All right, start feeding it through my existing holes here. Before I work on the breaker box side, let's go ahead and hook up at the air handler, and that way I can take the slack out of the line. All right, fellas, time to flip the big switch and take power off my breaker panel to get the new breakers in for the HVAC system. First things first, I'm going to verify that I have power. That way, when I flip the switch, I'm going to check again to make sure I don't have power. So go on my main lug here, and I'm showing 242 on the voltage. Okay, big switch, it's off. All right. This way I can see what I'm doing. Now I'm going to verify again that power is off. And I'm showing no voltage. I'm going to check a random breaker while I'm at it, just to verify, because, you know, it stings if it bites you. All right, so power is off. I've got two breakers to install, the 50 amp and the 15 amp. So let's go ahead and put the 50 in first. I'm just going to go down the line here. So you've got some lugs here and connectors on the back that go onto your little, I guess you'd call them lugs there. So you just take and you go right there. There we go. Get it lined up right. And the breaker's in. Verified off. Now here's my 15. We'll go ahead and put this in. Same drill. And my breakers are in. Now let's hook them up. Okay, let's start test. Let's start with the ground. Now, again, this is the main breaker panel. So my ground and my neutrals are all going to go on the same bus bar. So we'll go right there. Of course, this is 240, so it doesn't have a neutral, but I'm just saying. You guys know what I mean. Hopefully you know what I mean. All right, we are down on, we're on the home stretch. Final piece of the puzzle, hooking the thermostat up. So I actually did that off camera. I had two options. Option one was the old style. Could be anywhere from a 5 to a 7 wire hookup. And that's possible on this, but the unit provides a thermostat as well. That's a 2-wire hookup. So what I've got here, I've got 2 wires, regardless, that's these right here, that need to go. That's an S1 and an S2 wire that need to go out, actually the wrong one, out that way, and follow the refrigerant lines out to the outside unit. So that's hooked up out there. Now, the unit, the thermostat provided with the air handler is a 2-wire hookup. Here I've got an HA and an HB wired, and my thermostat wire is running up to the thermostat. The option, or the other option, using the old style is I could run a 7-wire, but the connections are a little bit more complicated. You have to match the R's and the C's and the O's and the G's and the W's and all that stuff on this switch panel here. And my dip switch is over here. Default is set for the 2-wire setup. So I'm going to go through the instruction manual, verify that, and we're going to try the setup that they've got. We'll go upstairs here in a minute and look at the thermostat. All right, guys, moment of truth. So far, so good. So far, so good. So here's the thermostat. I'm sure there's a light in there somewhere. I just haven't figured out how to turn it on yet. There's an instruction manual that comes with this, and I haven't read it yet. So I get my man card back. So that's hooked up. Let's go downstairs for a sec. This guy's running, doing really well. Let's go outside, take a look at the air handler. And here is my condenser doing its thing. So far, so good. Job's far from over. I still have a few things. I've got some cleanup and things to finalize. I've got to wrap my refrigerant lines. There's an additional wrap that you wrap for additional protection along with the ends. There's some additional foam that goes on that. I need to put the cover on the refrigerant lines outdoors. Still need to do that. What else do I have to do? The condensate drain. Haven't even addressed that yet. Now, as it is now, it will just drain basically out of the bottom of the unit. It does have an internal drain pan, but when that fills up, it'll drain out the bottom of the unit, and there's a drain in the bottom of the in the basement floor. But I don't want to do that, so I've got a sump pump that I need to hook the drain up to so that we can pump it outside. So still need to do that. Most of the wiring is pretty well. I mean, everything's good there. Don't really have to do any cleanup on that. But let's talk ducting for a second. Like I said, I'm working on the existing ducting that's in the house. Oddly enough, the one room that the ducting is missing on is going to the dining room. So I'm going to have to, there's a place for it in the main feed duct, but it doesn't go to the dining room. So I'm going to have to actually physically find that duct somewhere and duct that out to the dining room itself. I'm also going to wrap the entire duct system in insulation because you get a lot of heat loss and cooling loss just because the ducting is exposed to the air. One of the items that was brought up on episode 1 of the install is there's no return air system built into the house. I frankly needed to get the unit up and running first. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to need a return air system, but the fact that there's not one kind of complicates matters because I gotta have to design and engineer and then install something like that. So we'll see how that goes. Well, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Got the HVAC installed. It's up and running. We've got heat. Pretty happy about that. Still got a little cleanup yet to do and just the finish work yet to do, but I'm pretty happy. Certainly appreciate everybody tuning in every week, watching me kind of restore, rehab, and reshape this grand old manor. I promise Firebird will come back. I've got to have a place to work on it, though. Progress on the new shop is ongoing. It's just not quite there yet. So don't give up hope. I will get back to working on cars as soon as I possibly can. I do have some upcoming kind of upgrades for the shop truck that I want to do. Hopefully you guys will be interested in that. What else am I supposed to say? Please like, share, subscribe, notify, blah, blah. You guys know the drill. It really, it does help out. See y'all next week. Everybody, have a great day.